Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel, where in this video I will be providing an update in relation to the status of the channel, my plans for the remainder of 2022, and a forward look towards 2023. The channel itself is doing okay, however I'm not seeing the level of engagement I'd like to see with respect to each of the videos that I publish. And that might be due to the repetitive content for the moment, as I'm trying to ensure that each class video can be watched in isolation and still get the gist of the topic being covered while still focusing on the specifics of that class or class specialization. Additionally, and because of this I suspect, I've started to see a drop-off of the number of subscribers per month. However, I want to assure you, this channel is not going to disappear because of that. I never expected to get any subscribers when I first started this channel, and it was primarily a resource for myself and those players involved within my games. The fact that there are almost 1,500 subscribers is a very nice feeling, and while I'd like to get that to 10k subscribers, I'm not going to be pushing that on my viewers, as that's not really my style. If the content itself does not speak for itself, it means the content is not what people are looking for, and I'm fully respectful of that. And that is why the two prompts that I have added near the beginning and near the end of the videos are as unobtrusive as I can make them. And that's just simply there for those who are interested in actually subscribing, liking a video, or even adding a comment to that particular video. With respect to the various projects that are on the go, there are 3 key projects that I have in progress. The first, as you can probably tell, is finalizing the few remaining class and class specialization videos that really need to be redone. Those videos are ones that I published when I first started my channel or were published fairly early on in its existence. And since then, I have found a format that seems to provide exactly what someone is looking for with the base class videos for each of the classes, as well as a highly focused class specialization video that seems to make a lot more sense. Each type of video has been specifically indexed to allow you, as a player or as a dungeon master, to quickly jump directly to the section of the video that you need at the time that you need to see it. And the good news is, we are progressing quite nicely with respect to that. There is one more video remaining for the cleric class specialization, after which I will be updating a couple of the druid, fighter, monk, rogue, and sorcerer videos, while also dealing with one of the warlock videos and finally covering the remaining wizard videos that have to be dealt with. A lot of those videos used an earlier format, so the base class videos will be broken up, and then the class specializations that were covered in the various videos will also then be independently covered. And it just makes it a nice, more easily consumable video for anyone who needs to look at it. The second project is continuing our collaboration with publishing videos on the Smiteworks channel. Working with Smiteworks, we've published quite a few videos that deal with how Fantasy Grounds works. And while some videos still require updating from the older Fantasy Grounds Classic version of Fantasy Grounds, a good number of them have now been brought up to date. This is going to allow me to focus on new features that they want me to create videos for, as well as to try to catch up on the various module walkthroughs. It does take time to create the module-specific scripts because I have to go over the modules myself many times to ensure I'm getting to the key points that need to be covered, and I tend to work on a couple of them at the same time. Generally, I'll be writing the script for one while starting to review another, so all of that does take time to complete. However, it is nice to see the views and the engagement with respect to those videos, and I'm thankful for the opportunity that came about late last year and look forward to continuing with that collaboration. In my last update video, I asked for some feedback with respect to the topics that everyone would like to see me cover, and one of the bigger ones was a start to finish content creation series. And this is something that I have begun working on, but it is going to take time for me to prepare, as this is no small feat when it comes to creating various scripts that I need and keeping everything consistent between them. When I first did a content and module creation series, I did not script it, and it became very complicated to keep everything in mind while I was trying to get through that series. That is one of the reasons why that series has not continued to this day. Do not fear though, this series is going to replace that series, and I'm going to bring it forward with respect to how Fantasy Grounds now works. I do have a number of scripts prepared, but I'm glad I've held off recording those because as I've moved on to the larger topics with respect to content creation, I've had to make minor adjustments in some of the earlier scripts to ensure the information is consistent and provides a more complete picture of how you move through the series. I am currently working on the 5th, 6th, and 7th scripts, and currently have 3 to 5 additional scripts planned, at least at the time of this recording, but that might change if I feel that a video is covering too many different topics in that same video. I have found that the information becomes far clearer and easier to understand as I break those more complex topics into individualized scripts, because it keeps those videos shorter in length, easier to traverse, and far easier to index. However, this is not going to be a never-ending scripting session. I do have a goal in mind, and a clean separation of that goal that will allow me to lead into another series that links it all together. So as soon as I have the scripts that lead up to that separation, I will begin the recording process. But one thing I do know is that this entire series is still going to be based off of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. However, the concepts themselves are things that can definitely be used by other rule sets, as they are not necessarily unique to 5th edition. 2022 has definitely flown by, so I want to be sure you understand where I'm planning to take this channel in 2023. At the time of this recording, and even though there have been a few requests, at this time it doesn't make sense for me to go through and make use of channel memberships. However, it doesn't mean I won't be using them in the future, and I may revisit that in 2023 depending on how things move forward with the channel. And the reason why is because this is a hobby channel, and while I've been able to keep up somewhat of a fairly regular schedule with recording, that's not always going to be a guarantee based off of the work that I do. And I don't mean work for YouTube, I mean work that keeps me employed and pays for everything that I have. I'm in a very volatile industry, and because of that, schedules can sometimes shift around quite a bit. Luckily, I've been fortunate up to this point to not have to deal with too many of those things, but we are moving into other stages with the company that I work for today that might change that down the road. So I've got to keep that in mind, and then I'm going to revisit things like this in 2023 once I have a better understanding of how that's going to play out from a work perspective. However, I am going to truck through with the remaining class videos as best as I can, and they're going to take me well into 2023 because there are still roughly 40 plus videos left to record, taking into account those few base classes that I have to rework and break them down into 4 videos each roughly. Those all still take time to prepare, but while I'm nearing their end and will finally be able to have a complete suite of class tutorials by the end of that year, or at least shortly into 2024, it still is going to take time to do. I say that because I will also be looking to start recording the content creation series, and as I'm currently only releasing a video a week at this time, unless I also happen to publish one for Smiteworks, at that point it would be 2, I will be interspersing the content creation video series with the class video series. Although all of this might change at some point during that year, but that is sort of what my high-level goal looks like with respect to those groups of videos. Additionally, you might recall that near the end of 2021, I covered a Kickstarter project called Tanares RPG. Currently, and this might change down the road, they are scheduled to start delivery of the first groups of packages that will be shipped out to backers sometime near the end of this year or early in 2023. However, they will be beginning production of the RPG elements themselves within that year and potentially shipping later near the end of that year. The good news, according to their recent release, is that the production of non-RPG items is almost complete, and they should be starting to receive them shortly if they haven't already begun that process. Now, to be clear, that's shipping them to their localized distributing location. So each country is going to have a distributor that is going to be responsible for making sure they get sent out to the backers, just so that there's no complications, I guess, with customs or anything like that, because that's all going to be taken care of during that process. I'm hoping that as soon as I start receiving my bundles, I'm going to begin the process of showing what they look like and unboxing them as part of this channel. That is partially to help show that their products did in fact ship, as well as to close off the Kickstarter with respect to my coverage of it. Obviously, when that happens is all dependent on when the packages themselves start arriving, and specifically when the RPG portions of the Kickstarter begin arriving as well. I have not decided if I will do a 2-part video series or a 3-part video series. It all depends on the number of packages I receive and when they start coming in. Lastly, as I am nearing the end of the 5th edition specific topics, I will most likely start looking at other rule sets. And I've seen requests for Call of Cthulhu, Savage Worlds, and even the base core RPG, and 2023 might be a good time for me to start expanding this channel to cover those platforms. Initially though, when I started this channel, I wanted it to be D&D specific, but that's a really highly saturated topic, as has been pointed out a few times already. I do want to reiterate, however, that I've always intended this channel to be one that I do as a hobby, but also for some level of self-improvement. If you take a look at my earlier videos and compare them to how I cover information in my more recent videos, you will see that there is a massive difference in their focus and their quality. I have benefited greatly from this channel just on that alone, because in my personal life, I am now able to more easily present and describe information that I'm trying to convey in a much clearer and concise way. That itself is a great improvement just for me. So while getting into those new rule sets could be fun, if I find they are ones that I personally don't enjoy, I am most likely not going to cover them on this channel because it isn't going to be fair to you. I wouldn't be able to put as much heart into those videos as I do with Dungeons & Dragons. And because of that, I wouldn't want to tarnish those particular rule sets and tarnish this channel because of that. Keep in mind, this is not something that I do for a living, and my time outside of YouTube is quite limited with respect to planning and preparing for YouTube-specific content. However, I am going to take a look at those rule sets and maybe some additional ones, and see if I can find one that I like, and then be able to actually go through and present that information. We'll see. It's all going to be something I look at in 2023. However, that completes what I want to go over with respect to the future of this channel. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.